My name is Gregory. I'm Executive Director of MIT's Climate and Sustainability Consortium. And my research is broadly in the field of industrial ecology. And that's where we look at material flows at the beginning of life, at end of life, and also quantify life cycle environmental impacts. I think one project that I'm particularly excited about that we're working on in the Climate and Sustainability Consortium is about natural carbon sinks. And so these are really forestry and agriculture that the Earth relies upon to absorb carbon and really mitigate any impacts of climate change. And the reason that that's important is because there are many corporate and government entities that want to invest in natural carbon sinks, but there's a lot of uncertainty around how do we measure carbon in soils or in forests, and how do we account for the fact that these things are going to be changing over time and with different types of human interventions. And so there are links to both the science of how we do that, but it's also tied to what we call voluntary carbon markets. And these are the financial mechanisms that people are using to invest in climate solutions. And they're tied to what many people are interested in, which are carbon offsets. And so I really like this topic because it involves scientists, it involves people in finance, and it involves kind of social dimensions of how people think about climate. So the companies in the Climate and Sustainability Consortium, just like many other companies, have set net zero targets. That is, there's a certain date by which they're trying to achieve some form of carbon neutrality in their operations. And now the way that should be done is by trying to decarbonize as much as possible a company's operations and also the operations of upstream and downstream value chain partners. And when all of those means are exhausted, then many companies want to invest in carbon offsets. And this can be a good way to try to help the planet mitigate the impacts of climate change, to achieve carbon reductions. But the challenge is it's difficult to be able to often estimate how much carbon reduction do you get from a particular action, and that could be investing in forestry or investing in certain types of agriculture that retain carbon in the soil. So we need to be able to estimate those kind of offsets, the amount of carbon reductions from those. And then we also need to be able to ensure that they're going to stay that way and that the financing that's invested in these projects actually achieves their intended goal. And it's been tricky because it involves those technical aspects of doing the carbon measurements, but there also has to be reporting and verification as well. And so to me, that really speaks to the multidisciplinary nature of this challenge and why we really like to engage people across MIT in this endeavor.